Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour ahead of Free Practice 2. So we had Free Practice 1 a little earlier. No huge dramas, but Norby Michelitz was the man on top. He's the reigning champion and he took a large points score in Vallelunga. Second in Free Practice 2 was his teammate Bebu Nestor Girolami. Third was local hero Sami Taufik. I am standing in the Lincoln Co camp because they didn't pull out many good laps in Free Practice 1, but it was only Free Practice 1, and Ted is going to explain to me why you didn't pull out any fast laps for us. Go on then.
Yeah, all right. It was a lot of, it's a new track, but there was a lot of dirt on the track, so it took some time to clean it. And we just needed to, make some good testing on the cars to see we were preparing for the next one, for this one. But there was, there was a lot of things going on. One of our cars stops in the middle of the straight, completely covered with plastic in the front.
What happened there? Those of you who didn't see Free Practice 1, we suddenly had Jan pulling over. He looked like he'd gone out shopping and his car had picked up some packaging. What happened?
No, but it was a big plastic bag or something on it, and it was also going into turn 3 in the beginning. There was a big plastic bag, and if we get it on the cooler, it just overheats. We need air. It's so warm, so then we need to stop the car because it overheats directly. No
big damage though, or anything like that. So tell me a little bit more about what you learned about this track. It's presumably things are happening pretty quickly out there.
Yeah, it does, but the advantage with such a small track is that you learn the track obviously quick, and when the audience, when they are looking at it, it will be an intense race because the cars will be fighting really hard, and it's so, we say it's quite easier to make a mistake here, even if you don't want to, because it's so tight and twisty and with the curbs and so I think it will be good in that way. It's just that we need to learn it a bit before we start qualifying. Yeah,
that'll make it a little bit fun then. Good. Temperature is starting to pick up now. Pit lane is now in sunlight. Earlier it was in shade. How do you guys cope, or how do you think you'll cope, physically, mentally in 32 degrees?
I think it'd be really hot. Inside these cars is really hot because we don't have any air condition or any fans blowing. It's like, it's hot. So we have to be sweating and staying focused. That's the really important thing.
Free Practice 2, will we see you putting in some quali laps, you guys?
Yeah, I think most of us guys, most of the teams will put on fresh tires or new tires just to see the balance before qualifying. So that's usually what we do.
Good. Thank you very much, Ted. I shall leave you to it, and it's time for you guys to get in the car. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think Ted may have been the fastest Lincoln Co in Free Practice 1, about P8 I think he was. But, like we said earlier, Free Practice 1 is not about showing any cards really. Free Practice 2 is where we'll start to see where the hot labs start coming out, as Ted just told us. Let's get on with Free Practice 2, shall we?
Thank you very much, Alexandra Lequiqui, down there on pit lane in the increasing sunshine here at Marrakech. My name is Paul Jeffrey, and a very warm welcome to you all. The second free practice here in Morocco as we are heading into the build-up for qualification. Track temperature has risen significantly from this morning. We've got a temperature of around 28 degrees C. Air temperature currently 26.9 degrees centigrade. It's getting warmer, but it's still not quite at the peak that we expect for qualification later on this afternoon. As Ted Bjork down on pit lane quite rightly mentioned, this is the session that all of our drivers will be using to prepare for that all-important qualification. Expect to see much quicker times this time around. This morning in Free Practice 1, Norby Michelitz was our fastest driver with a 50.802. We had just over 0.5 of a second covering the top 5 cars, of which 3 were BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corsa machines. 2 were goat racing Hondas and 1 was a Volcano Motorsport Audi of local hero Sami Taufik. For those of you that missed it this morning, this is the entry list from this event. We've got the 11 full-time Kumho FIA TCR World Tour drivers, and we're joined by special guests Victor Fernandez and Dusan Borkovic in a goat racing Honda. We've got Julian Piguet racing in the Audi, coming from the world of endurance GT racing. Mehdi Banane returning to the world of TCR touring cars, home hero aboard a Cupra. First time we've seen Cupra in the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour, so it's great to have him in the field as well, joining fellow home hero Sami Taufik, who signed up for the full season in the Volcano Motorsports Audi, as previously mentioned. Main beats from free practice 1 this morning was very much a case of drivers out there just getting the laps in, sorting out the cars as best as possible, trying to understand where the pace lies within the vehicles in order for this session to put the pieces together ahead of qualification. As I say, Norbert Michaelis was the driver who was quickest from Bebu Girolami, Sami Taufik, Mikel Azcona, and then Esteban Gurriere and Dusan Borkovic were the top 6 finishers. Important to note, as Alexandra alluded to on pit lane, the Lincoln Co. Cyan racing cars were not as quick as we would expect. How much of that is down to just running the cars in, learning the circuit, tweaking the setup, gathering the data, and how much is the pure pace of that particular car is anybody's guess. For myself, I suspect we'll see a much quicker Lincoln Co. Cyan racing team during the 30 minutes of free practice 2 that we're about to engage in today. Beautiful shots on pit road. There are the 4 Lincoln Co. Cyan racing cars marching at the forefront of shot. Mar was 13th quickest in FP1, so he's got quite a bit of work to do, but still faster than teammate Santiago Urrutia. Drivers Santi 14th, just ahead of last place man Victor Fernandez for Goat Racing. Fernandez had a bit of a difficult session. There is that team, Victor Fernandez and Goat Racing, chucking the boots, the Kumho tyres on that car ahead of Green Flag. They had a disjointed session this morning, so they'll be hoping for a clean run and a lot of learning ahead of Green Flag in just a few moments' time. For those of you that are here and watching on the TCR TV YouTube channel, a very big hello to you all. It's great to have you with us during this broadcast. We don't show free practice very often at all in the World Tour, so it's great to have FP1, FP2 live on the YouTube channel. It's fantastic to give everybody a bit of an insight as to what goes in to getting these cars and teams and drivers ready ahead of the main racing, which, take note, happens on Saturday this weekend. Both the first and second race, the 2 races of the weekends, round 3 and 4 of the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour, will be happening tomorrow on the YouTube channel, 11:10 and 3:10 UK time, so that's 12:10 and 14:10 CEST. So make sure you keep a date in your diary. Don't come turning up on Sunday, because we'll not be racing. Beautiful drone shots of the Marrakech circuit. It is a fantastic venue. This is the shorter version of the circuit Moulay El Hassan in Marrakech, the 1.98 kilometre or around 1.23 miles. Much condensed than the last time we came here in 2019. What that means is very much a sub 1 minute lap time. That means track placement, track positioning will be vital when we move into qualification. It'll also be rather important in this FP2 session because, as Ted Bjork mentioned, a lot of the drivers are likely to put on fresh tyres just to find the balance, understand where the speed of the car is ahead of qualification. You're going to want some clean racetrack in order to do that one, and with 15 cars in a 1.2 mile lap, that's going to be quite difficult, methinks, to get space on track. So expect plenty of jockeying for position over the course of this session and qualification later on this afternoon. But qualification is something we'll worry about further down the road, because we've got the small matter the 30-minute free practice 2 session about to commence. The drivers 45 degrees in pit lane, lined up on pit apron, getting ready to go out there and start exploring this circuit once again. We've had a support race or two before since free practice 1. So the track conditions will change ever so slightly from what our drivers experienced last time around. There'll be a little bit more dirt cleaned up off of the circuit. Hopefully no oil has been spilled either by our support categories, and you will see on your screen a message from race control that the start of the session has been delayed. Not a significant delay. We do expect to be green flag running again almost immediately, so we'll keep our eyes on that one as some last-minute laptop changes on the Mikel Azcona Hyundai Elantra N TCR are undertaken. Beautiful shots then off pit lane. You can see from the behaviour of the flags there that the wind is quite low. The temperature is high. It's an air temperature currently of around 27 degrees C. That's only going to get warmer as the day progresses. So very, very difficult for these touring cars. Drivers, difficult to keep the tyres alive, difficult to remain in the zone for each and every one of these stars of the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour. And there we go. Delayed start over and done with. The drivers now receive a green light at the end of the pit lane in just a few moments time, and then we will be in action again out on track for the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour Free Practice 2 ahead of rounds 3 and 4 of the 2024 racing season. Having had the pleasure of sitting in a couple of TCR cars for hot laps in various different tracks around the world, I can tell you now it is incredibly warm at the best of times in the cockpit of one of those machines. Imagine in a full set of fireproof overalls, fireproof Nomex underwear, balaclava, helmet, hands device, in the car with the engine running. No windows open for aerodynamics, of course, no air conditioning for these cars as well. Sat in the baking sunshine, waiting to go out on track is so incredibly difficult for the drivers to manage. No adrenaline because you're not racing, you're not out on track, you're sat there. The heat is sinking into you, sinking into the car. These are really, really difficult conditions for our World Tour drivers, and this will really go to show now. We're only in the second event of the year. How well these drivers condition themselves in the pre-season, how high their fitness levels are. This is where it's going to start paying back this field. This is where it starts to give them the advantage over their rivals. If you're concentrating on being too hot, keeping your concentration, then you're not focusing on the task in hand. And we'll see how that unfolds over the course of qualifying and the race as well. This is just free practice 2, of course, so no need to be quite at the limit of what we'll see a little bit later on as a green flag eventually waves and our stream of Kumho FIA TCR World Tour drivers come out of pit lane, joined of course by some special guests. Dusan Borkovic, you see there, Mehdi Banani as well, Julian Piquet and Victor Fernandez are our guest drivers for this weekend. So 30-minute session we've got in front of us. Sami Taufik, very, very quick this morning, third fastest in fact, topped the session many times over the course of the 30-minute free practice 1. He's a little bit later off pit road than some of his main rivals. Marco Butti, young Italian driver for GOAT Racing that we're looking at here, he was 10th in free practice 1. He was around 0.8 of a second away from Norman Michelis at the front of the field. Butti had great weekend on home soil in Vallelunga last time out. A third and a fourth position on track was a fantastic return for himself and the GOAT Racing team. Got involved in a few dramas, it has to be said. He'll be hoping for a cleaner but equally competitive weekend this time around as he navigates through that final turn and starts his lap. That's his teammate, I think it is, we saw there as we look at the Lynk & Co Cyan racing outfit. Focusing on their bank of monitors in the garage, they're keeping an eye on their 4 cars. 4 cars on the racetrack. The first one to set a competitive time is Mikel Azcona, a 51.377, so around 4 or 5 tenths of a second away currently from the pace we saw at the end of free practice 2. Expect that to drop, possibly even into the 49s and beyond as this session progresses. Riding on board with Spanish driver Mikel Azcona now. Just look how committed you have to be in one of these TCR touring cars. Got to be so close to those tyre stacks, so close to the wall as well. A few drivers had to go and see the race stewards at the conclusion of FP1 for being a little bit too close to those tyre stacks. So you need to stay within the limits and the confines, look after yourself and the car, as well as adhering to the rules, as Azcona and Michaelis are 1 and 2. Marco Butti sets an early time of 53.1 as well, so he's immediately been passed by Bebu Girolami, 51.909. There is Mikel Azcona, the two BRC Hyundai N Quadricorsa cars together as one, almost following each other around. Such is the tightness of this circuit and the lack of outright top speed. Both Azcona and Michaelis won't be worried too much about sharing the slipstream. The terminal, the maximum speed on this circuit is not really high enough to generate too much of a benefit in terms of slipstream. Every little helps, of course, but on a street circuit, the name of the game is staying out of trouble, using those curbs as aggressively as you can and getting as close as you possibly can to those tyre stacks to minimise the amount of corner that you have to navigate around. Well, we're looking at these two BRC Hyundai N Quadricorsas. Bebu Girolami in the third car goes quickest. 51.353 is the lap time from the Argentine driver. Mehdi Banani as well in the Cupra Leon VZ TCR goes third quickest. He's done 3 laps of the circuit so far, 51.683. As I talk, he drops down, does the Moroccan driver, to 4th position in the timing screens. Esteban Gurrieri, another driver going quick. What we're going to see during the course of this practice session is these times will tumble quite quickly in these opening few laps. Drivers, a mix of drivers bedding themselves into the track and the conditions, and then of course just clearing off the rubber from the support racers as well, just cleaning up still that racing surface. And then of course, as Ted Bjork mentioned on pit lane, there's going to be an expectation that new tyres will be fitted to each and every one of these cars for a qualification simulation run as we get a little bit further into FP2 with just about 5 minutes down of a 35-minute session that we've got in front. 12 cars currently on track. Mehdi Banani, Norbert Michaelis and Marco Butti are the 3 currently in pit lane for the Claret Sport BRC Hyundai N Quadricorsa and GOAT Racing teams respectively. Having a quick review of their cars as we look on at GOAT Racing there, seeing how their drivers are going. Dusan Borkovic 13th quickest, Victor Fernandez in 7th, Marco Butti in 8th. Julien Piguet that we see there, the Frenchman, car number 30. Good to see Julien in a Claret Sport run Audi. He's traditionally found himself in endurance and GT racing, raced at the Le Mans 24 hours last season, so it's a bit of a venture into the unknown for the Frenchman in a touring car, a front-wheel drive touring car at that. And as you can see from the correction of Santiago Urrutia, not the easiest ride in the whole wide world out there on the Marrakech street circuit. So Piguet doing a good job, 11th. Yes, this morning in free practice 1, 8 tenths away from the ultimate pace. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on to see if he can challenge our 11 established Kumho TCR World Tour drivers. He's of course, Julien is of course one of 4 guest drivers for this event, alongside Mehdi Banani, Dusan Borkovic, Victor Fernandez as well. So good to see new drivers joining the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour field for this particular race. And Aleshe on a hot lap there. Currently second quickest, 51.230, but more importantly for Jan, 5 laps in the books. Had a bit of drama in FP1, attracted some debris onto the front grille of the car, recognised, very cleverly actually, recognised that there was an issue almost immediately, pulled the car up to the side of the circuit to have that cleared out to avoid overheating, and off he continued. But again, any reduction in the amount of laps that you can record is a disadvantage to your rivals. So a minor recovery job required from Jan Elishay in this second practice session, as we take a look at Dusan Borkovic there, just going through shots in the blue and white goat racing machine. Good to have Borkovic back, first time top level FIA international competition since he won the 2015 FIA European Touring Car Cup. He's plying his trade in TCR Europe this season, same team, same car, and he's decided to step up for this weekend onto the world stage, and it's going well for Dusan Borkovic. 5 laps in the books, fastest lap so far of a 51.015. So Borkovic very much a man on the move at this moment in time, and anybody familiar with the world of touring car racing will know that Dusan often has excitement around him on the racetrack. So I, for one, am looking forward to seeing what he can do over the course of the remainder of this weekend. Mikel Azcona, the only car on pit lane as things stand, Spanish driver. Final check, tyre pressures and temperatures, make sure everything is as expected, and then the Spaniard will be on his way once again. Taking a look there at Goat Racing, keeping an oversight on everything that's happening. Goat Racing, by the way, if you were not with us last time out at Vallelonga, brand new team led by touring car regular Pepe Oriola. New team to the world of touring cars, came together quite late, it has to be said, in the off-season. They came to Vallelonga and impressed absolutely everybody. Really strong performance, double podium result in race, well, a podium in race 1, a podium in race 2 is what I mean. Really strong performance from Goat. They've come in to this weekend and they've picked up very much where they left off. Esteban Gurrieri, regular driver, in 5th position. Dusan Borkovic in 6th, as we've just seen Marcinkoir add his name to the list of many drivers that have explored the chicane runoff areas over the course of these first 2 sessions. No harm done on that occasion, no damage attracted to the car. Marcinkoir continues on his merry way again. And the number 168 we just saw shooting across the bottom of our screen, that is Jan Elishay, currently the quickest driver in the field, a 50.957. So we're starting to close up to the lap times we saw at the conclusion of FP1, which just goes to show exactly how fast we're going to be going this weekend. Bit of a cool down job for Goat Racing. Got to do with a couple of those fans myself. Trying to keep the Honda Civic Type R FL5 in optimum range and conditions for what is an increasingly warm circuit here in Marrakech. Very difficult conditions for the mechanics, for the drivers, even for the spectators watching from the grandstands as well. Hard to work in this level of heat, but work they certainly do. And Jan Elishay crosses the line, half a tenth just over, away from his ultimate best, but still good enough for the quickest time. Biggest worker so far is Esteban Gurrieri. He's in pit lane, but he's got 11 laps to his name, currently in 4th position on the timing screens. Everybody else trending for around the 8-9 lap sort of range. Dusan Borkovic in pit lane has 7 against his name, so he's got a little bit less track time than some of those immediately around him. As again, Jan Elishay goes quickly through the first sector. Looking at Marcinkoir there, Elishay's time at the bottom of the screen. About to break the timing beam, almost a second down in sector 1. Then Jan backs out of it in sector 2. So again, Cyan Racing Link & Co. not enthusiastic about displaying their ultimate pace, but we heard from the teams at the start of the session that very firmly the potential ultimate lap time of some of these cars, when you piece together their sectors, is very, very quick indeed. So there's still work to do for the likes of Hyundai that were fastest in the opening practice session. Marco Butti bore the line sideways there in the Honda. Very little room for any kind of mistake here in Marrakech, so you really don't want a loose rear on any of these cars. Whoa, very loose rear indeed from Mikel Azcona, throwing it through the chicane rally driver style. Beautiful car control, and trust me, if you see it on the TV and it looks dramatic, in real life and behind the wheel, it will be even more dramatic again. So that was a major moment for Mikel Azcona on one of his push laps. Does well to minimise any kind of momentum loss, but Azcona will be well aware in that one that there is a little bit of work to do comfort-wise behind the wheel. You need a car that can rotate well. You need a car that can dart through those chicanes, but also manage the curbs here in Marrakech. It looks a little bit loose for Mikel Azcona at this moment in time. 6 laps on the books. Sixth position with 10 laps on the books for the Spanish driver. Jan Aleshe, Dusan Borkovic, Norbert Mikulis are our top 3. All 3 are in pit lane as Ted Bjork now in the Lincoln Co. That looks a lot more stable for the Blue Machine compared to what we saw for Azcona. The question is, though, it might look stable, but is it quick? That's the question that Ted Bjork will want to answer. Currently in 10th position, and second fastest of those Lincoln Co Cyan racing cars. A little bit of work being undertaken there on the 129. Not ideal for Bebu Girolami. Hopefully they can get that one solved. 16 minutes 53 seconds left on the clock. We take a look again at Marco Butte. Butte, hard-working, 12 laps in the books, joint highest of all alongside John Felipe. Butte, though, down in 13th position. The car's not showing quite the pace that we experienced at Vallelonga. The Italian driver and teammate Esteban Gurrieri have a programme that they're dedicated and working towards over the course of this weekend. So I do expect towards the end of the practice session is when we start to see the real lap times being thrown at these cars, as the track will be at its best condition that it's been all the way through this free practice 2 session, and thus will be giving you the most realistic feedback to the drivers as to what they may expect to encounter when we hit qualification a little bit later on today at 4:45 CEST on the TCR TV YouTube channel. Cyan Racing, Lincoln Co Cyan Racing, sorry, a change in name. It was Cyan Lincoln Co last year, and now it's Lincoln Co Cyan once again, as we've become more accustomed to know for this year. They're hard at work with their cars. Aleshe down in pit lane, as is Mar and Santiago Ruti. Just Ted Bjork from those 4 on the racetrack. And then here we see again Julian Piquet in the Claret Sport Audi. 4th quickest at this moment in time. Nice time. It's a Generation 2 Audi, exactly the same as the Volcano Motorsports run machines of Sami Taufik and John Felipe. So a good car, although a driver with minimal experience in a front-wheel drive touring car, acclimatised himself very well indeed around this tight and twisty and difficult circuit Moulay Al Hassan here in Marrakech. Work still being undertaken down at BRC. Bebu Girolami back on the racetrack, though. It is just Norbert Mikulis and Mikel Azcona that stay in pit lane as Esteban Gurrieri now. Gurrieri is good in free practice 1, 5th quickest, 5/10 away from the ultimate pace. Currently in 7th, but going much faster indeed as we pick up Jan Aleshe behind Esteban Gurrieri. There is the Honda driver, 186 through the chicane. Nice and smooth, nice and neat. Everything looks under control for the Argentine at this stage. Few more corners to go. It's so easy to make a mistake, as there we see Victor Fernandez doing exactly that. No such problem, though, for Esteban Gurrieri. Aggressive over the curves. Fernandez holding station as to not impede those cars behind. Can Esteban Gurrieri move up from his 7th position? Yes, he can. Quickest time of the day, a 50.274. So that's 0.6 of a second quicker than we saw Norbert Mikulis go this morning, which again leads credit to the fact that we think this track is ramping up and the drivers themselves are ramping up as well. So quickest time, Esteban Gurrieri, a marvellous, almost 0.7 of a second ahead of Jan Aleshe. 14 laps on the book for the GOAT Racing Honda driver, and that's a pretty satisfied looking group of goat racing engineers led by, of course, Pepe Oriola with the sunglasses on. Here is Mikel Azcona. Can the Spanish driver respond in kind to the new pace set by Esteban Gurrieri? Difficult to see through the windshield for the sunshine here in Marrakech, but you can just see the body language of the car. Azcona turning right to go left and left to go right on occasion as the rear end just starts to slide out. It's quicker, his own personal best, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get in contention. Look how close he runs to those walls. You've really got to be at the absolute top of your game around this circuit in a touring car. It's so tight and twisted. It's almost like a Formula E track in its configuration, something that Mikel Azcona knows all about, having had a little foray into the world of Formula E himself. And he crosses the line, or he will be crossing the line. There we go. Mikel Azcona does not improve final sector. Well, he does improve. I apologise. Mikel Azcona moves into second position. Santiago Urrutia behind moves up in a third. Azcona has nearly 4 tenths of a second to find to be in contention with Esteban Gurrieri as we see him exit stage right through the escape road and back onto the racetrack once again. And just as a point of attention for those at home, not always when we see this is that a mistake that you're seeing. The drivers will explore the escape roads and how they come off the racetrack should they make a mistake or get into drama. A lot of this is strategic to do that one, to understand where the grip is, to understand how to navigate safely through the cones. And we've seen that, we saw that before last year when we went to the Argentine street circuit at La Pedrera Park, and we're seeing it again here as well. It's just exploring the safest and easiest and quickest way to get through those cones should you find some drama befall yourself in the race tomorrow afternoon, or tomorrow morning even. So 11 minutes 20 seconds left on the clock. Esteban Gurrieri is our fastest driver for goat racing, a 50.274, but more importantly 17 laps have been clocked by the Argentinian driver. Mikel Azcona has 14 laps to his name and a 50.655 lap time. Jan Aleshe, the man that we're looking at here, is currently third quickest, just 14 laps currently clocked, half a second away from the ultimate pace, but ahead of teammate Santiago Urrutia in fourth position. And then we've got the BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corsa car of Bebu Girolami in pit lane alongside Dusan Borkovic and Norbert Mikulis as well. Those three drivers electing not to be on the racetrack at this stage. Mehdi Banane, Sami Taufik, Marco Butti and Victor Fernandez also on pit road, leaving us just 7 cars on circuit as we speak at the moment. One of those 7 cars is this Volcano Motorsport Audi that we see now. That is John Felipe. We've not seen much of John, Frenchman, so far this session. He was 9th quickest this morning in pre-practice 2s, currently second on the timing screens, so good lick of pace from the Volcano Motorsport car. Felipe, very talented driver, was in contention for the TCR Europe title last season, moves to the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour full-time this year, stays with the Audi brand, but a brand new team for him in terms of Volcano Motorsports. And Felipe was competitive last time out in Vallelunga, although the results were not spectacular as the Frenchman would have hoped coming into it. It does look, though, as though the car has come off the trailer very competitive indeed here in Marrakech. And Felipe and, of course, teammate and home hero Sami Taufik, both of them showing a good turn of pace. Taufik currently in 13th, but we know that car has more speed in it. He's got a 51.4, has Sami Taufik. John Felipe in second position on a 50.579. Tyre squealing, Kumho tyre squealing on the tarmac here at Marrakech as John Felipe pushes hard in his qualification simulation out on track. Really are beautiful cars of these TCR machines. The Audi in particular, a very attractive model, a very competitive and successful model as well. Felipe crosses even the start-finish line once again, 19 laps in the book. Let's remember, That car in the hands of Rob Huff last year was in contention for the World Tour victory right through to the final round at Macau before eventually losing out to the Hyundai of Norman Mikulis. So we know the Audi's fast. Different team running that Audi now. Same team running this Hyundai though. Big difference for them. They've got Bebu Girolami added to a 3-car assault, moving up from 2 cars last season, 3-car assault this year, and that will strengthen their charge no end. There is Taufik through your screen, then Ted Bjork, 111, luminous yellow, wing mirrors, the way to distinguish that from the other 3 Cyan Link & Co machines. Ted Bjork, very successful driver, former world champion. He's looking for another strong season this year, adding to his win tally and hopefully able to carry a championship charge through a little bit further into the year than we saw in 2023. Plenty of traffic out on circuit. There is Victor Fernandez. Easy to distinguish Victor Fernandez compared to the other GOAT racing cars. He's the one with the yellow flashes on the front of his machine. Fernandez guest driving this weekend, of course. He's in a GOAT racing car, but he's got a double-digit number. That means he's not part of the full-time World Tour field, but is here as a one-off. His Spanish driver, Victor Fernandez, and doing solid work to get some laps on the board after a disjointed free practice 1. 18 laps to his name, only good enough for 15th so far. Quite a gap away from the front runners, nearly 2.5, nearly 2.6 seconds. So Fernandez has to dig around in the back of the locker for a little bit more lap time heading into qualification. But at this moment in time, just banging those laps in is all that matters for him and the team. Bit of shade there for the BRC squad. They'll be grateful to get out of that baking sunshine for a few minutes. No such luck for the drivers though, as we see the Link & Co Cyan Racing squad in pit lane. And Elishay, no dramas with local carrier bags. This time around, Ted Bjork dives down pit road as well. He finishes his scheduled run. Will get pulled back by the team. They'll check everything's above board. And then the run plan continues. Santiago Urrutia, not seen much of him in this session. He's having a quiet but effective day so far. 7th quickest in the times, 17 laps on the books. Not quite as busy as the likes of John Filippi, who's got 23 laps to his name. PA has 21, 22 just crossed the line now. Marco Butti also 22. So plenty of drivers out there still gathering data. There is PA now that we're looking at in the number 30 machine. Quite striking, I think it's fair to say, that car. Very minimalist livery on that one, a black one. Not many colour variations, but a very aggressive looking car, it has to be said. And a very aggressive looking driver, it has to be said. PA doing great stuff through the chicane, managing to adapt to the life of the front wheel drive touring car very nicely indeed. Thank you very much. Let's have a look, see if it's just as successful through the second chicane. Yes, it is. Over the curve, give a little kiss to the tyre stack through this awkward final turn. Really understeer city on corner exit, especially if you're not used to front wheel drive. You can very easily get torque steer into the wall as Piquet crosses the line in 9th position on his 23rd tour on the circuit. That's his quickest to date, and he's 7/10 away from Bebu Girolami at the top of the field. Look how close the circuit is to the main highway. I always find that quite incredible. I'd be desperate to park my car up and look over the fence given the chance. One of the marshals making sure that nobody's naughty and breaks the 60 kilometers per hour pit lane speed limit. I'm sure nobody's cheeky enough to have a go at that one as one of the Volcano cars. We're heading back out again. There you see, top of your shot, that is pit exit. Re-merges on to the racetrack. At the exit of T1, you have to stay behind the white line, of course, before you get on to the racing surface. There's Victor Fernandez still circulating around in the FL5 TCR Type R, 22 laps. PA as well that we're looking at here, still on the racetrack, still in 10th position. We're looking to move forward a little bit as he can. 11 full-time Kumho FIA TCR World Tour drivers. So really, for our guests, if you can break into that top 11 in qualifying, you've done a very, very good job indeed. The two Gabriellis, Gabriele Tarquini, Gabriele Rizzo, in the back of your shot. Tarquini with the glasses, Rizzo with the headset looking away from camera. Two main men in charge of the BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corsa team, and they're doing great stuff. It's been an incredible start to 2024 for the BRC squad. They've just recently announced that BRC will be racing in TCR Italy as well, so they're back in their national championship as well as being represented here in the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour, and to great effect, it has to be said. Beru Girolami, just as I was saying that one, drops down a second in the standings as Jan Elishay goes fastest of all. So Jan still in the 50s, a 1 minute 50.197. So my prediction of dropping into the 49s may have been a little bit enthusiastic in FP2, as Mikel Azcona does everything and more he can to get that car sideways as quickly as possible through the chicane. Azcona, 9th position at this moment in time, but on a qualification simulation run. Quick in sector 1, there's a little bit of traffic up the road. Don't think that's going to be too much of a drama for the Spanish driver. It is Julian Pillet ahead, but Mikel Azcona does improve to 7th position with 2 minutes left on the clock. Marchinglois a bit further back, came out of the gas in the final sector, so he stays in 13th position. Good sector times, but not quite piercing together the whole lap. And that is Bebu Girolami. Been in pit lane now for a little while, just 19 laps that he's managed to clock versus the 23 of the 23 of Mehdi Banani. Quietly confident BRC in the car that they've got underneath them. Jan Elishay fastest though, very confident, loudly confident now. Looking at the timing screens, the Lincoln Co Cyan racing team. Great performance again, as always, from Jan Elishay, incredibly talented driver. All four, to be fair, drivers at Cyan Lincoln Co are incredibly talented. Elishay currently the quickest of the lot. Santiago Urrutia, 4th overall, 2nd within the timing screens of that team. And then it's Mar and Bjork, 14th and 13th places respectively. They've got a little bit of work to do to clamber up the timing screens with 50 seconds left in this second and final free practice session of the weekend. Kumho FIA TCR World Tour, rounds 3 and 4, the circuit Moulay El Hassan in Marrakech. Staying then with Cyan cars, that is Mar at the front of your field, fastest overall in sector 1, personal fastest in sector 2. We often see the Chinese driver come off the throttle low in the final sector, and they would do again 1.4 second time loss to his teammate Jan Elishay at the front of the field. That could be, if the car is difficult in sector 3, could be that Mar not willing to show a full turn of pace. We'll find out a little bit later on. Elishay still quickest of all. Marco Buta, his day is done in the GOAT racing car. Ted Bjork as well crosses the line in 13th position on the overall timing screens, as does Esteban Gurrieri. Of course, checkered flag waving. If you're already on a time lap, you're more than welcome to complete that lap before finishing your session. Otherwise, it is day done in terms of competitive times, and it's looking very much like Jan Elishay is the fastest overall with a 50.197. In 2nd position is Bebu Girolami. 3rd, Esteban Gurrieri from Santiago Urrutia. Home hero Sami Taufik finishes in 5th position with a healthy 24 laps against his name. And then it's Norbert Mikulis in 6th. John Philippi, 7th. Mikel Azcona, Marco Buti and Dusan Borkovic, rounding out those top 10 provisional times from this second and final practice session here in Marrakech. And unbelievably, 1 second covering the top 14 drivers. Just goes to show exactly how competitive this field is. Victor Fernandez not having a great session on the timing screens, 27 laps in his name, which will be helpful, but 15th quickest overall. So we'll look at Sami Taufik there, returning back to touring car competition super excited to be racing on home soil. Taufik electing not to do a practice start, heading straight down pit lane. The 5th position is a very good reward for his efforts this afternoon here in Marrakech, as our drivers once again line up on the grid to practice starts. Final chance they'll get the opportunity to do this before we heading into the racing action tomorrow. So it's a good opportunity to have one final practice start, quick test that everything's behaving as expected, compare the data to this morning, and then just set everything they need to set, get it in their minds exactly how they need to launch away from the line. Come race time tomorrow morning. John Philippi pulled back into the welcome shade of his Volcano Motorsport pit box as Bebu Girolami launches away from the line. You may ask, why is this valuable to the drivers? Surely they've started the TCR touring car many times in the past, and you'd be correct. But of course, the track surface, the condition of the circuit surface, the actual physical makeup of the tarmac differs from race to race. It is always massively important to get a read on how much grip is available to you when launching. Cast your mind back to Vallelonga. Bebu Girolami found he had more grip underneath him than he was expecting when he launched in race 1. The car bogged down, eventually stalled, started from 10th position, fell all the way to the back of the field. You want to minimise those kind of risks. You've got the data, the engineers will be able to see exactly how the car behaves in these conditions. So you get on there, you practice start, you understand how the grip's going to offer up to you, how the car and the tyres are going to react to it, and you all feed these into your mental racing driver armoury ahead of the race, just to try and buy yourself a little bit of an advantage on the start, because I'm sure that you've already picked up watching at home, this is a tight track. Overtaking is going to be relatively difficult for these drivers, so qualifying will be absolutely vital. Potentially, with a fair bit of luck and a firm wind in your direction, you can hold position if you make no mistakes. The best place to find a gain in this race will, without any shadow of a doubt, be the start and the opening laps. The better you can do that one, the bigger your chances of a successful weekend will be. As we see Jan Alichet wheeled into pit lane, having had a very successful FP2. First fastest time, 50.197, 23 laps on the books. As a warm-looking Ted Bjork wanders away, no doubt in the hunt for a little bit of refreshment. So here we go, free practice 2 times then. Jan Alichet is our quickest with a 50.197. Bebu Girolami and Esteban Gurrieri in 2nd and 3rd places. Santiago Urrutia 1/10 away in 4th, ahead of home hero Sami Taufik. Norbert Michaelis is 6th position from John Philippi, with Mikel Azcona in 8th. Marco Butti, 9th quickest time, 4/10 away from the front of the field. Dusan Borkovic in 10th position. Another home driver is a welcome return from Mehdi Banani, 11th quickest in the Cupra from Julian Piguet in 12th place. Ted Bjork, 13th from Marchingois, and Victor Fernandez in 15th position, 2.5 seconds away from the pace.
One second covers the top 14 drivers in free practice 2. Let's have a chat with Jan, who pulled out the fastest lap. An improvement from FP1 there. What have you learnt?
The track a little bit. We tune a bit the setup as well to suit to this low grip surface. It's a new layout for us, but yeah, it's good. It's only FP2, but it's going the right direction.
What do you envisage the race is going to be like now that you've got to know the circuit and the other drivers a little bit more over this weekend?
It will be intense, you know. It will be very hot in the car, so physically it will be a challenge for everyone. But at the end of the day, it's so narrow, and there is not a lot of straight braking, so the overtaking possibilities are quite low. So we need to qualify well and then manage from there.
Well done. Good start. There we go. I look forward to seeing you all. Make sure you're joining us for qualifying later on.
Thank you very much, Alexandre Legui, down there with our fastest runner in FP2, Jan Elishay. And Jan is a very fit boy indeed, and you could see that had taken the strain out of him in that practice session. So if somebody like Jan Elishay is feeling the heat, mark my words, it's going to be a very physical and demanding qualification a little bit later on at 4:45 CEST, 3:45 UK time. Make sure you do tune in to the TCR TV YouTube channel to catch all the action. Qualifying is going to be one of the most important of the year. Take my word for it, you don't want to miss this. Touring cars on a street track sounds like my idea of fun. Thanks very much, and bye-bye.